I wanted to tell you a story of how I ended up becoming a stripper. So I was a stripper for, it felt like about 7 years of my life. And I don't recommend stripping for women. I feel like it really wasn't the right thing that I wanted to do. It didn't feel like the right thing for me, but I did it, and that was my life. But I don't recommend it for other women. I recommend choosing a different path. I just remember how I became a stripper was my teacher. I was studying natural medicine in Boulder, Colorado, and my teacher told me her daughter was a stripper, and she did really well, and she was able to buy a house with the money. And so I thought, well, I need to buy a house, so maybe I should start stripping. And I tried other jobs, and it just wasn't cutting it. I was getting fired and not really fitting in, and so I felt like I got pushed into being a stripper because I needed to survive, and I didn't know any other way to survive. So I remember I heard about being a stripper for the first time, and I decided I was going to go ahead and try. So I'm headed to the place to try to be a stripper for the first time. I'm on my way there, and I feel a conviction in my heart that felt like God telling me not to go that way. And so I stopped the car, and I wrestled with it in my heart, and I said, God, am I supposed to be a stripper? Should I be a stripper? And I just sat in one spot, and I wrestled with it in my heart. I just kind of walked in circles and paced back and forth and asked God, can I be a stripper? Should I be a stripper? Should I go home now? Should I turn the other way? And I just sat there, and I just wrestled with it for about 10 minutes, trying to debate whether I should go and apply to be a stripper or whether I should just go home and pretend like I didn't know that there was a job like that. And I wrestled with it, and I said, God, can I be a stripper? Because I really need a job, and really need to take care of myself. And I need a way to provide for myself. And I felt like in my heart I would just get fired from other jobs. And so I wrestled with it, and finally I just decided to go for the very first time to a club to try out for the first time. And I remember I got up on stage and danced for the very first time, and I was in the dressing room, and the girls were so sweet to me and so loving, and I was like, wow, okay. And they were all happy for me to try it for the first time. And I guess there is something about people loving debuts. And so I get up on stage and to be a stripper, and the girls were all clapping. All the girls that worked there, they were clapping, and they were so proud of me. And they were very supportive, and they were throwing all this money at me. And I was like, wow, this is something special. It was the girls that were giving me all the attention. And I guess I really ate up the tension. I really needed it. So I worked for this club for a few days, and I just worked for this club only for a few days, but it was such a wild experience to get up and strip for the very first time. And it was such an experience. It was almost like going on a first date and going to, a base that you've never been to before, going further than you've ever been. And that's how it felt. And so I tried it, and I didn't really fit in with that company, and the owner there didn't allow me to keep working there. So I heard about another strip club in more in the country, somewhere else. So I went to the other strip club and got hired there, and I actually really enjoyed that club, and it was fun, and it made me feel like a movie star because we had a back room, and the way they had the back room set up, it made us feel like we're movie stars, just with the bright lights and the dressing room. And it really was like the back of a Hollywood place where you sit down and you put your makeup on and you have all the bright lights, and it just felt like it was a Hollywood back room or something. So it really was fun. And I remember when I first started stripping, I was a little bit overweight. I was around 27 years old when I first started stripping. I was a little overweight. I'm a little chunky, I guess you could say. And so I remember I was working out on stage to try to lose my weight. And so I just was working out in front of everyone. And I did lose my weight. I lost it fast. I lost weight really fast being a stripper. And I just lost it while I was at the country bar and having fun on stage, just having a good time. And I was like, wow, this is fun. I enjoyed it at that time. And then you'd hear things, and then you'd wonder if you should follow them. And so I heard about girls stripping in Vegas, and I heard they were making really good money and everything. And so I was like, oh, I should see what that's like. I should do that. So I went from this little club in a small town in Colorado, and then I flew to Vegas to strip. And then I started stripping at Spearmint Rhino. And that was a club in Vegas. And it was a big club, and it was a big popular club. And I guess they needed girls there, And so it was quite a promotion from this little country club to this big one in Vegas. And I just remember I was there, and I really did have fun. I did enjoy it. And it just was a way I could really express myself and really be myself. And I realized I really did love being on stage. And so I was stripping over there, and I remember one time someone had some ecstasy, and well, I never had had any ecstasy before. I didn't really want ecstasy or anything, but I was just dancing my normal dance. And I remember this guy was trying to give me some free ecstasy. He goes, would you like ecstasy? Would you? And he was pressuring me. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't really know much about it. And so I didn't say yes or I didn't say no. I just was kind of observing him. And next thing you know, he puts it in my mouth without getting an answer from me. And I was like, whoa, like, what's going on? So he gave me ecstasy without me saying yes. And next thing you know, I am very mental. So I'm at the strip club, and I hadn't been stripping very long. It was my first year of stripping, and I was like, wow, I just got to Vegas. I didn't have my hotel booked yet. So everything was in the air, and now I'm on ecstasy, and I pretty much don't know what's going on around me, And I was like, oh no, I know I'm on something, and I don't know what to do. And I was like, the first time you try something, it can be way stronger than normal. And I was dancing a little wild because of it, for sure. I was on the stage dancing very, very wild. Very much expressing myself. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And because I knew I couldn't even book my hotel room. And I knew I needed to be taken care of by someone. So I found this older stripper who was probably about 55, real pretty girl, really pretty lady. And I went up to her, and I knew I needed help. I knew I needed supervised, because I pretty much didn't know what was going on after someone gave me the ecstasy without my permission. And so I went up to her and I said, can you just take care of me? And so I asked this lady to take care of me, and she did. And I was in a different world. I was pretty much checked out of reality, in a different world. And I remember waking up like about 5 hours later and say, what happened? Thank you for taking care of me. I really appreciate you, because I finally came back to reality. It took about 10 hours or 5 hours. And I was so grateful she was there for me.